Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome to another day here with me. Great to be with you. Remembering this, that there's nothing new under the sun, but every sunrise is beautiful. I know that may start to become a cliche, but it really is important to wake up to a beautiful sunrise, right? So today we're going to talk about control. And it's a huge subject, and I'm not going to pretend again to know a ton about it, but I'm going to share a few things that may be helpful warning signs when somebody's trying to control you or you're trying to control them. And being controlled is a huge subject, and so I'm going to just focus on just one small part of it. This part is somewhat subtle, although it's not as subtle as those that try to usurp control would like to make you think. That part of control, which is subtle, is at the root of all kinds of problems, yours and theirs. So distinguishing the two and maybe giving some insight into yourself, into your relationships, and maybe what you can do about it to improve on it. The other aspect is what I call posturing, and that's using your body, your actions to elicit a certain outcome without explaining it to the other party involved. So you do things in an environment that create an outcome that you want, and without really, it's a dance that you're having that the other person doesn't know about. Very similar to having an unspoken contract with somebody and being offended when they don't adhere to what you believe is the legitimate contract that you have with that person. So let's get started with a story as usual. So here we go, the story. What do they do in the movies? Scene 1, Act 1. So here we go. Morning, honey. How are you this morning? Said John in a coffee-induced early morning mania. Gertrude responded with a little yawn. I'm here. I see you're cooking. What you got planned? Tepidly, Gertrude responded. Something to eat. Great, said John, while pushing the dishwasher closed as he reached for the stove to adjust the burner down just a little bit. It's better to cook eggs at a low temperature, don't you think, baby G? A grunt emerged from Gertrude while thinking to herself, I've been doing this for 25 years. I think I know what I'm doing. Bacon and egg flavor floats through the air nicely, wrapped in light, smoky swirls. A lovely way to start the day. Thank you, Mr. Piggy and Mrs. Clucker. So, you gonna clean that knife that you just used to put the butter in the pan? Someone may put their hand on it and get greasy, John blurted out when he saw Cutie G moving to the refrigerator. G replied with a deep thought. Sure? John felt a little cold air waft through him. I'm just trying to help, G. He turned his back and moved to pick up his freshly brewed cup of joe. Now standing with his back to her, he starts to whistle a tune. Loudly, I might add. Glistening warmly, the bacon calls to all in the room, time to eat. Aren't you going to eat? John ejaculates when Gertrude starts walking towards the arched doorway leading to the living room. Slightly confused and now perturbed, G responds, I need to get some napkins. You go ahead and get started. No, I'll wait for you to get back. No, please, just start. John puts his fork down and starts humming loudly again and keeps it up until confused G returns. John, why didn't you just start without me? G asked when she returned a couple of minutes later. John then stops his humming. What took you so long? I've been waiting for you, sweetie pie. Oh, well, I asked you not to wait. But it's not nice to eat without you sitting down. She sits to eat, feeling a bit frustrated and confused. John then reaches across and moves her glass to the right, just a little, just a scotch. So it goes, meal after meal, car ride after car ride. Though this interaction could be relatively normal depending on the circumstance, there are things you should look for or pay attention to in yourself when you're having these sort of conversations. There could be body manipulation, like turning your back on somebody or pouting or some of these other things, which are normal reactions to certain things, but they could also be indicators. A couple questions that I would ask is curiosity always innocent? Let's take a look at a couple potential problems in this scenario that I just laid out. One of the biggest difficulties in life is to find open and fulfilling relationships. It's very difficult to find, and they're very difficult to hold on to. Life is full of challenges of many, many different kinds. And unfortunately, offenses and transgressions build up over time. So sometimes subconsciously, we don't even know things are going bad, or we get frustrated and react to them And then as time passes, we kind of forget about them, but underneath there's still something not quite right. When someone asks a question of us, we can often feel that they are really interested in our well-being, or sometimes we get this little suspicion like, why are you asking me that? I mean, it's fine, but I don't quite get it. It could be they just love you and are interested in your well-being, or maybe they don't want you to change. The inquiry could be trying to figure out what you're thinking and where you're going to try to stop you from changing. And I'm not saying they're thinking this consciously, but it's possible. Often people don't like to have ones close to them change because it makes them feel unstable. So some of the questioning could be somewhat manipulative. Often you'll get a little undercurrent. So just be aware of that in the back of your mind when you're having these conversations. Another scenario similar is maybe life is all about them and they're questioning you, and all these queries are about finding out what you're up to so they can make sure that they're okay, that they're doing better than you, or at least as good. Well, they're doing this, that, and the other. They've accomplishing this in their life, so I need to make sure I'm doing that so I'm as good or better than them. Instead of the healthy response maybe would be, oh, I'm so glad you're doing that, and what an amazing breakfast. Thank you so much. You do an incredible job. I could learn things from you. You know, instead of encouraging and getting into that positive feedback loop is what we would rather do. Somebody feels really badly about themselves deep down, and they've covered it up with arrogance and maybe some accomplishment, or maybe no accomplishment, just arrogance, and maybe they use anger or manipulation to keep their status, which that's not good either. And the flip side of that is if somebody gives into that too often, that starts telling you something about yourself, about your boundaries, your self-confidence, your desire to be independent and growing on your own. There could be some insecurity there that you need to look into, that would be healthy to look into, to become more yourself, to become more independent, to grow. When people inquire too much and feel slightly manipulative, or use their body to block you, or change the environment to suit them always, it can also just be plain annoying and a little bit invasive. So, you know, it's something that needs to be addressed. So it's a good idea to address these things to get them out in the open, because remember, the goal is to have healthy, loving relationships, right? And that's the goal, to be able to share safely with those closest to you, to feel completely confident they're on your side, okay? And when they appear to not be on your side, or when they have something that's maybe a critique, then there's so much goodwill built up that you may be willing to accept this critique. So one of the signs to look for is if somebody asks a question or does something and you ask, oh, why do you ask? Or why did you do that? Or can you not do that? If the other person becomes defensive quickly, or turns it on you and says, you know, kind of makes you feel dumb for asking the question, that can be a warning sign that maybe something good is not going on, that maybe this person does have an agenda, known or unknown to them, that's not helpful. So kind of wrapping this up, start looking for these subtle clues. Make sure you question what's going on and make sure that you're on the same page. We are all equals, even if one maybe is more intelligent, more accomplished, or whatever. We're still all human beings. We're all we're all created equal, should be treated with the same respect, period, across the board. Life can be tough just the way it is. We don't need those closest to us creating more difficulty, or us creating more difficulty for other people, or not being strong ourselves, allowing somebody to keep violating your space or violating your emotions, when really they need some clear lines drawn so they can grow and become a better person or a more healthy person. My kids are quick to remind me when I overstep. Sometimes they're right. Other times I'm willing to take a hit because I believe it's in their best interest to hear what I have to say at that time. So, you know, if you have a relationship, sometimes you can push the boundaries a little bit and get something in there and say, it's just something I really feel passionate about, and then leave it to them. Most importantly, we must all strive to be the best version of ourselves that we can. With this state of mind, we can share what we have and create kind of a symbiotic relationship with the universe, one of love and one that empowers me and you to this turning of goodness, to this learning state, to this, oh, this is a good day. If I see so-and-so, I can share something positive. Or if it's something negative, they'll give me something positive and we'll grow together. I've learned from my father. He's a great example of, well, that freedom and independence come from or derive from competence. So mutual respect should lead to greater and better relationships. So you can have input, you can have conversation. Mutual respect leads to great relationships. You need to let go of your friends, you need to let go of your children, you need to let go of your mates, you need to let go of yourself to a degree. And thereby believing in them, they can learn and grow. Again, we get back to the growth mindset. You learn and grow, become more skillful, you share these skills with your friends, family, loved one, the world, and the world becomes better. Again, the symbiotic relationship is created, and energy builds and builds like a nuclear reactor in a good way. The world is ruled by selfish people, and the only way to temper that is for the citizenry, for people, individuals, to all grow and grow together and be aware of each other, love each other, and not be overly judgmental and try to understand the other person and not try to manipulate. It's the only way to heal the world. Finally, I would encourage everyone not to overreact, but to look, listen, and ask. Set really strong boundaries and don't be pushed around. The world is almost infinite, and the possibilities for good are everywhere if you open your heart, your mind, and your life fully to it. So if one thing fails, there are 100 more things you can do. If one sale fails, there are 100 other clients. If one bad customer, there are millions of other customers. If that type of diet or workout doesn't work for you, there's another one that may. So life is limitless. Let's not get stuck. Thank you for taking the time to be with me again today. And until we meet again, all the love and all the power. Love you guys. Goodbye. Thank you, Mr. Piggy and Mrs. Clucker. Oh, Lord.